Here we go.
Between the two of us,
Five,
we'll have to
four, three, two, one, and we're on. All right, am I live? I am live. Welcome. This is our first time being in here since the first of the year. So welcome everybody. In accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If I could ask you all to please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You've all received a copy of the agenda. Were there any adjustments or corrections? If not, that will stand with unanimous consent. And we've got some great recognition to kick off. I love seeing a full house. A lot of people come out to see recognition. So I think you're going to start off with the first one, or
Start out with
okay?
the first one, 201, and I'm going to recognize Leanne Lordo, who's going to present this one.
Nope, not yet. He's working on it.
Maybe.
Good. All right, you're good.
Okay, we're on now. Great. Good evening, board members. Tonight, we are pleased to present the June 30th annual audit report to you. As part of the report, as you will remember, we once again utilized the talents of our high school graphic students for the cover and design work, which you see displayed on the screen. Tonight, I have the honor of recognizing a truly exceptional young talent, a 10th grader this year, who is in the level 2 class at Nation Ford High School, the digital art and design class. Her name is Juliana Torres. Her design, we felt like, perfectly encapsulated this year's theme, which the theme this year, we wanted to emphasize this chart that you've seen us use a lot, that really depicts the progress of our students from kindergarten to graduation. This year also marked a significant change. As you know, in past years, we have worked with Joe McConkey for many years. He retired from our district, and Tara Miller graciously agreed to continue this tradition of working with us as part of her curriculum for her level 2 design students. Once again, I can't tell you how many wonderful submissions we had and how pleased Joe Burke and I were with this project. It's always a very difficult selection process for us, but we truly felt like Juliana's design really depicted kind of the theme that we were trying to get across to the public this year for our district. So we're incredibly proud to feature her work in our annual audit document, and congratulations to her on this well-deserved recognition, and we eagerly anticipate her future success in this area. So I know Tara is here this evening.
Right over here.
Oh, perfect, okay. And Juliana, and I have an audit report book for both of them, if you want to come up front.
Yep.
And a certificate. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Now we recognize Gail Scroggs for the next award.
All right, good evening. In a very similar vein, we have a project that we update each year, and it's the Program of Studies. It's our compilation of all of the courses and all of the requirements necessary for high school. It's an essential document for middle school as middle schoolers transition to the high school. We update this each year, and I've worked with the classes at Catawba Ridge High School and Nation Ford High School to prepare a cover design. Over 30 designs were turned in across Both classes, we had winners for first, second, third, and many honorable mentions. But the cover design that emerged as our winner was presented by Catawba Ridge High School. And at this time, I asked Liam and Katie to come forward. I'm going to ask their teacher, Mr. Bojanowski, to talk a little bit about their design.
All right. So yeah, we had the honor of having an opportunity to make this today. Both Katie and Liam decided to be partners. All my students were partnered up. And the two of them came up with this design relatively quickly, which as a teacher made me nervous because that can mean one of two things. Either it's beautiful and wonderful and it was meant to be, or it's the obvious answer and it's not creative. And so as you can see, it was the first, very creative and wonderful and meant to be. So they did a wonderful job. I'm very proud of them and very proud that they're representing our school and the school district. So.
Y'all want to stay together for me? Good. Thank you. Awesome.
Next is the Nationport High School,
The cyber, yeah.
School Cyber Patriot Team. There we go.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Major John Logan, and I'm going to turn this over to our Cyber Patriot Team's volunteer coach, Mr. Charles Simmers, who is one of our former cadets' parents who graduated, but he stayed on and continues to volunteer to be the Cyber Patriot coach in our program. I'm going to allow him to speak to everybody, explain a little bit about what Cyber Patriot is and exactly what they've accomplished this year.
Hello. Cyber Patriot is a U.S. Air Force sponsored program where a team of students will compete to secure IT infrastructure such as Windows servers, Linux servers, and Cisco networking. Our Cyber Patriot team this year was placed first place in the gold tier for the South Carolina State competition, and I'm very proud of what they've accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all can squeeze in for me just a little bit. That's perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. I suspect our IT director wants to get their contact information for future job opportunities.
And now
Alright.
we are the former high school veterinary science team state champions.
I am Tim Pacehour, the animal science, agri-science teacher and FFA advisor at Fort Mill High School. And we have a group of young ladies that competed in the state veterinary science competition against 37 other schools. And we come out in first place as state champions. And just a little bit about FFA. Our program at Fort Mill goes all the way back to 1919 for an agriculture department. Now, I'll just say that FFA was once known as Future Farmers of America, and now it's known as a National FFA organization. I would say our organization has changed as much as the town of Fort Mill. So just wanted to, and so these young ladies did an outstanding job. They competed in identifying equipment, identifying breeds of animals, had to identify parasites, diseases. They worked with some local vet clinics and prepared for this for quite a time, and we're very proud of them.
Come on. Thank you. down. We got one more.
You're right. The final award for tonight, recognition of school board members, Vice Chair Wayne Bolden and Michelle Branning for years of service. I think there are levels that you get honored, level 1 through 6 for various reasons. That's attending conferences
Training.
and training. This one is a little different in that this is for years of service. Just before I give both of them their pins and their certificates, just want to make a comment about school boards in general. I've seen a lot of school boards through the years, as you can imagine. When you're older, you've been through a lot. I think that the secret sauce, as we like to talk about our teachers, for the part of the success of the district is the strong school boards we've enjoyed through the years. And I'm going back to when I was a student in the 60s, and Mike Hill's here. We could rattle some names off to you, and they'd all be the names of streets in Fort Mill because they're so ancient. But it's really these folks. All I ask of a school board, and what makes us so special, is we have people who run for the right reasons. The right reasons may be very different to each and every one of you, but not necessarily an agenda in place. And if you have an agenda, that's fine too. But we've had a bulk of folks who have been good stewards of the money for the district, for the citizens of Fort Mill. Has helped us maintain the high academics by improving programs. And Wayne and Michelle are just positive examples of that, and I'm proud to have worked with him. Wayne's getting his certificate in his lapel pin. I'm sure that's worth a lot of money, Wayne.
It costs a lot.
15 years, and
Michelle's over there
Michelle
under that piece of paper.
is for
10 years.
10 years. So I'll try to get
Lot of
it.
service. Lot of service.
Knock everything down. Hold me up there. All right. Here's Wayne.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all don't know it. His name is Elmer Wayne Bolden.
Junior.
Junior.
That's
Thank you.
right.
Can you stand up for me?
And Michelle.
They will. They're all gonna stand.
With your.
Let me find
Come
which
on.
one.
Y'all can do it.
I can't hold all of it. Find the right one.
Do you want to come up front, or are you happy there?
You gotta go stand behind them.
Oh, we'll stand behind
Whatever you want.
If you don't mind coming up front, that would be great.
You go.
If you'll just keep coming a little bit further.
That's a lot of wisdom right there.
That's perfect, thank you. Yep. Perfect, thank you so much.
And while that is the end of our official recognition section, the next one is kind of recognition as well. We've got a school spotlight for Sugar Creek Elementary. So come on up. Come on down.
It's kind of weird having my back to everyone, but good evening. I'm Principal Michelle Greitz from Sugar Creek. We're very excited to be here tonight, and we appreciate the opportunity to showcase a little bit about our school. That is pretty much what I'm saying tonight, but I did want, not to spoil what we're going to go over, but I did want to recognize 3 of our students, Misha, Mila, come here, Livia. And these are 3 of our students that are new to Sugar Creek this year. Come this way. Misha and Mila are from Russia. Olivia is from Germany.
Welcome.
And so we are very proud of them, and this is just a little hint about what we're gonna share. But thank you for being here, and they came voluntarily just to support us. So thank you.
Good evening, school board. I'm Aaron Plummer, assistant principal at Sugar Creek. Thank you again for having us here tonight. You're about to hear about our ESL program and how much pride we take in the diversity of our school community. You will hear from our ESL teachers, but they are speaking for all of our teachers and how the program is weaved throughout each one of our classrooms and up and down our hallways. We're very proud of all the work the teachers do every day to create a welcoming, safe, and supportive environment for our students. As our team finishes up, you will also see video clips of the most important pieces of our school, our students. The 4 superstar ESL teachers here to tell you about our program are Melissa Rivera, Alyssa Hallam, Candace Powers, and Elka Wahana. So I'm going to hand it over to them and let them do their work.
All right.
Good evening. Welcome to our school, Sugar Creek Elementary. This map represents the sharks that come to us from all over. We have it displayed next to our corridor, and you can see how many students we have from all over the world. It is a great visual for our kiddos and a great way for all of us to see how truly diverse Sugar Creek truly is. This next slide represents our ML population, which is extremely diverse. We currently have 213 students in our ESL program out of 741, which means that 35% of our school population consists of a multilingual learner. This chart shows how many levels, 1 through 4, we have and how many students are in our monitoring phase of the program. We currently serve about 62% of our students and monitor roughly 37% of our students. We provide different levels of support depending on their needs. We serve our sharks through push and support, pull out, co-teaching, planning, and much more. This graph shows how many languages are represented at the Creek. We currently have 23 languages at our school, which is absolutely amazing. Here are just a few, but we wanted to point out that out of our 213 students, 113 are of Hispanic descent, with all different backgrounds, different dialects, different cultures, which is diverse in and of itself. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcoming our community. We have shark welcoming banners in multiple languages throughout our school. We also have our shark banners in our front office to welcome parents and students as soon as they come in. The banners include the languages spoken at Sugar Creek. Communication in multiple languages. We translate phone calls, our school counselors and our principal sends more newsletters that parents can translate. We also translate parent-teacher conferences and provide learning resources in their native language. At Sugar Creek, translating is second nature. One school, one book. Ms. Rickman, our librarian, orders and provides books for our newcomers in their native language for them to read along with their families. Every year, we make videos of reading the book in Spanish for students and parents to follow along. Parent presentations at Sugar Creek. Parents also come to Sugar Creek to present about holidays in their countries. As you can see in this slide, there is a parent presenting about Diwali and what Diwali means. We can also see a parent presenting about Christmas and New Year's in Romania. Hispanic Heritage Month. Our Sugar Creek Elementary Ambassadors Program is composed of 5th graders supported by Kelly Jones and Theodore Opera, our school counselors. Our school's objective is best captured in the words of Kelly Jones when she stated, "The objective is to guide our students through the National No Place for Hate initiative, where students work together to make our school a place where all are welcome, accepted, and supported." With that goal in mind, each month we have a theme. During Hispanic Heritage Month, the flags of Hispanic countries were displayed throughout the school halls, and our ML students were able to see their flags displayed. Thank you.
At Sugar Creek, we build relationships through shared experiences. One way we do this is by committing to professional developments together. So we have decided to share with you just 2 of our latest opportunities that have focused on ways that we build language acquisition in our building. First, our ML teachers from across the district invited a classroom teacher from our building to spend the day with us and Valentina Gonzalez. Our focus that day was, what can we do to build our students' language experiences? Throughout the day, we worked with Ms. Gonzalez, our chosen classroom teacher, and others in the room to discover new strategies to encourage our MLs to participate. One example I wanted to share with you is the visual on the right of the screen. We recreated this poster from our PD, and it now hangs in our classroom walls. This scaffold helps build language acquisition by encouraging all students to respond, even when they're not sure what to say, or in some cases, don't know how to say it. Another opportunity that we're very proud of is our partnership with Winthrop. This PD took place at Sugar Creek with the 4 of us and 21 staff members from our school. This year-long book study was funded by a grant written by Dr. Kelly Costner from Winthrop, along with our very own math interventionist, Missy Babinchak. During the course of the year, we were able to explore, examine, and reflect our own beliefs about math in a safe and supported environment. Furthermore, we discussed difficulties our students experience with math language and how we can meet their different needs and levels to help students feel more supported in the classroom. Finally, one more. Whoops, wait a minute. Oh, sorry, right there. Finally, our team had the opportunity to present our reflections and discoveries at the Old English Consortium in Clover. Our hope there was to motivate our ML teachers across the state to facilitate a book study just like we had given, and to encourage future partnerships with Winthrop.
Good evening. Oops, wrong one. The goal of our ESL program at Sugar Creek is to increase English language proficiency and to support the academic success of our multilingual students. At the same time, it is important to us to promote cultural and linguistic awareness in our school community. During the next part of our presentation, we will share several examples of how we provide our students with authentic opportunities for language development. We would like to show you how our students teach and learn from each other and help build community. During this monthly project, groups of students had the opportunity to practice all 4 language domains, that is listening, reading, speaking, and writing. After interviewing one of our amazing staff members, the students created a riddle with the help of their classmates and then shared it during the morning announcement over our intercom system. To help with the guessing game, all classrooms received a video that included the riddle and revealed the mystery person. The project was educational, it was entertaining, and we learned a lot about our custodian, assistant principal, resource officer, and many other staff members. Here you see a student with principal rights sharing on the school intercom system about a celebration called Children's Day in our home country of Honduras. Similar presentations about holidays and celebrations in other countries and in the US observed by Sugar Creek students and their families continued throughout the school year during morning announcements. Each oral presentation was supported by a visual, just like the one you see here on the slide. This slide shows you some of our students sharing the historical background and explaining the meaning of the Pledge of Allegiance to our school community. In addition, the students had written and recorded a digital book which was shared with all classes. This project spearheaded the recital of the pledge over the school intercom system, which is now done on a daily basis by a Sugar Creek student. Here we're showing you some of the ways we welcome our newer students. We validate their identity by surprising them with traditions from their home country. The picture on the right shows a kindergarten student who just moved to the US from Germany. On her first day, her teacher surprised her with her Schultüte, or an English school cone. It is a decorated cardboard cone filled with school supplies and candy traditionally given to German children on their first day of school. We also work with our newcomers, their classroom teachers and families, and give them the opportunity to share about their country and first language in their classrooms. Thank you.
We recognize our students' achievements, and celebrate with them when they pass South Carolina's English Language Proficiency Assessment. We proudly present them with a certificate for this accomplishment. At the same time, we acknowledge peer collaboration and present a certificate of recognition to students who use their foreign language skills to assist beginning English speakers. To conclude our presentation, we would like to invite you to listen to some of our students' responses. We asked students with various language proficiencies what it is that makes Sugar Creek special to them.
So we will send you the video clips that were in the presentation at our earliest convenience. But I just want to say good evening. My name is Meg Nibluck, Assistant Principal at Sugar Creek Elementary. And I wanted to say thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to share a little bit of the excellence that takes place at Sugar Creek Elementary. We are so proud of these 4 exceptional educators, and we really feel like the work that they do on a daily basis makes a big difference in the lives of our students. Thank you.
It truly is remarkable when you see the percentage of your students. Now, you refer to them as multilingual. How common or not is it to get a student that does not speak English at all and has another language but not English? Is there a subset that, I mean, it's got to be hard to learn elementary school without being able to speak the language that it's being taught in. Yeah, very common?
It definitely is easier when they come in as kindergartners and as 4th graders.
Yeah.
But we have so many resources, and not just personnel resources, but like Misha Mila, they have a translator.
Okay.
The teachers use with them, which is a game changer.
That's nice.
So they use a translator just to be able to communicate those less common languages for us. But it's definitely great.
Well, thank you all for what you do, and it's very impressive that you've been able to build a team that can also accommodate so many languages. So congratulations.
Great.
A quick question for Mrs. Greitz. Could you come to the podium and share with the public?
Sure. If I have to.
Wait, what slide is that on? Hold on. I'm just kidding.
Can you share with the public what are you most proud of that footprint you're in charge of?
So I'm a crier. I think all my teachers were criers. We just, you know,
Wow.
it's really hard for me because I've been at the school for so long.
Yep.
And I feel like we've taught generations. And so when I tell you the relationships that we have with our families, it's amazing. But I will tell you, the district's support and commitment to what we need has made the difference for our students. We have 4 ESL teachers. That is, I don't even know how we would do it, you know? And I think just those kind of things that are provided are truly what makes the difference for our students, the people, the relationships. I mean, one of our kindergarten teachers, she had Hannah, brought a cone because she knew with the support of our ESL teachers that on the first day German children received that. In a foreign country, totally new. I mean, what a more welcoming way to help relieve that anxiety and just transition. Or no, it's the people, you know? That's what I'm most proud of, is
Thank you
just
so much.
the work that's done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the other thing that you're going to notice, I have a little bit of experience at Sugar Creek, but how empty the room will be once they get up and leave. How many people came to support this program from the just speaks to the culture and the family atmosphere that they have there. I do want to recognize Dr. Costner. I saw your name in the presentation. He is a tremendous supporter of our schools and a great liaison between Winthrop and has been for many years. So I appreciate you coming to the meeting as well, Dr. Costner. So, but thank you, Sharks.
Fantastic.
cheer.
So that was the fun part of the meeting.
You're screwed.
Clean the room out.
That's right. Now, not that I'm saying that the rest of this is going to be dry. It's just hard to compete with that kind of energy. We have approval of minutes. We have, our next agenda item is to approve the minutes from December 5th and January 23rd. And you all were provided a copy, so we'll start with December 5th. Any adjustments or corrections needed to that?
No, ma'am.
All right, that will stand as approved with unanimous consent. And then January 23rd meeting. Any adjustments or corrections there? All right. Do we have any public participation this evening? We do not. Then we will jump right into our staff reports, and that book that we were just talking about how beautiful it is, we're going to actually learn a little bit more about the contents of it. So, Ms. Lordo, if you want to, okay, David's going to come up on his own and just jump right in.
You can introduce yourself.
All right. Yes, I'm David Phillips with Green-Finny Colley, and I was placed terribly on the agenda because mine will be a lot worse than theirs. But if you don't mind, we will try to just hit the highlights of the fiscal year 23 audit. We were going to do the presentation in January, but we had that big rainstorm, and so everything kind of got pushed off a little bit till now. I just want to remind everybody, you know, the importance of internal controls. And it's not just something for the school district. It really is for every organization. You want there to be checks and balances so that one person can't do it all. And so one of the things that we do as your auditors is that we try to kick the tires in the significant internal control processes. And if we see that there's things that maybe aren't working quite right, it's not just important, and I talked to Leanne and her staff and Dr. Epps, but it's important that you know about it because you really can't fix it if you don't know if there's a problem there. So that's one of the things that we're doing, and these are your financial statements. So when we come to the next slide, our responsibility is to issue an opinion. Remember, we're looking at things from a materiality perspective, which is about 1 to 2%. And some of you would care about a penny, but you know, we're trying to get reasonable assurance of the status of the financial statements. And so we issued an unmodified, that's a good opinion, that's a clean opinion, but it's a strange term because if we modified your report, it would say everything looks good except cash, or everything looks good except this. Well, you don't want one of those. And so we're not aware of anything being materially misstated. And so unmodified is a good term there. All right, well, let's look at your fund balance. I know that this is probably one of the key measurements that you like to look at. Your unassigned fund balance was about $43.2 million. That chart really gives you a good little bit of history there to kind of see how you've trended. It increased your fund balance by about $3.6 million. And that's about 23% of your 2023 actual expenditures, or about 20% of your 2024 expenditures. So why do you want to have a good fund balance? Well, remember, some of your revenues, like property taxes, they kind of come in at one time. Some of your other revenues are very systematic throughout the years. But like your property taxes, you know you're going to collect a lot in December, January, and February. Don't really collect a lot after that. It helps you if you have emergencies or unanticipated expenditures. What if you have a building, need? You have options. You may not always have to borrow 100%. You may say, well, we'll commit part of our fund balance for that and the rest we'll borrow. We also know if you issue debt, if they see you have a good fund balance, a good track record, you're going to get a lot better interest rate than the other entity that struggles there. And remember, you know, we constantly have risk with the economy. We have risk with state funding formula changes. You don't always know how all that's going to turn out, and you want to be able to have some rainy day funds to carry you until you're able to kind of let the dust settle on those things. All right, so let's look at your revenues. You had about $185 million, which was about a 6% increase over the prior year. The state revenues, it was kind of, you remember we have that new state aid to classrooms. So you actually had a slight decrease there, but some of that revenue was being recorded in your EIA fund, and then it gets transferred over to your general fund. So some of it was a little bit of a different geography of how it had to be recorded this year. On your local revenues, had 11.1 million increase, primarily property taxes. Remember the 17 mil increase, higher assessed values. But for the first time in years, we've seen a lot of our governments have pretty high interest earnings. So, you know, the local government investment pool, the average rate was close to 5%. Years before, it was a lot less than 1%. So if you have some money on the side, you're starting to see some returns on that, which you traditionally, a lot of us haven't seen. As it relates to your budget, you came in 7.8 million more than your budget. Some of the same areas, property taxes, investment earnings, but part of it is just being conservative because you're not sure how that funding formula is going to play out. All right, well, let's look at your expenditures. They were about 91 million, increase of about 8%. But remember, you're a people business. So as instruction and support goes up, it's pretty much wages and benefits, new teachers, step increases. Those are the things that are your drivers. You had your net transfers in were a little bit less than budget. Remember, you transferred about 2.5 million into your capital projects fund for some additional capital needs. Remember, you put some money in your debt service fund to reduce that millage, and a little bit you put over into your future school openings, kind of like bank account where you're saving some money for those activities of the future. All right, well, let's look at some of your other major funds. Remember, special revenue funds means they're special. And that means they can only be spent for a particular purpose. So even if you have fund balance in any of these, it's not like you can, oh, I'm just going to use it for general purposes. You can't. But again, remember, in the Special Projects Fund, it's a lot of federal programs, Title I, IDA, ESSER, and so forth. You expended about 18.2 million there. And then in the Education Improvement Act, you spent about $3.3 million. In your Food Service Fund, remember, you get federal monies there, but you also have meal sales, so you kind of have some of both of those revenues. You had a slight decrease in your fund balance of about $400,000. But remember, the fund balance that remains in these funds are pretty much restricted for the purposes of those funds. All right, well, let's look at your debt service fund. Had about 15.1 million in fund balance. Remember, that's all restricted for debt service. And the millage remained unchanged. It was 72 mils. Your capital projects fund, you're one of the districts that seems like you always have something going on building-wise or buying land or getting ready for something. You have fund balance there of about 93.6 million. Remember, you have a lot of projects on your long-range facility plan. And that's what that is, to be having that money set aside, and you're going to probably have to issue some more bonds to help meet those needs as you build those schools. And remember, in fiscal year 21, you began to set aside some funds into a future school opening fund. And that balance at the end of June 30th of 23 was about $6 million. So as you have need, you can reallocate those funds and use that for future school openings. You had about 27 million in capital kind of related costs. Remember, you purchased some more land for a new school. Remember the property next to the district office that you purchased, construction and site improvements that you had going on, and then again, a lot of furniture, equipment, and other capital assets that you purchased. We're just going to briefly look at your pension and OPEB liabilities. Remember, you participate in the state retirement plan. And remember, the GASB, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, they say that if you participate in a cost-sharing retirement plan, that whatever that asset, net asset, or liability on the state level needs to be allocated down to all of the participating entities. And it's done based on your contributions to the PEBA as a percentage of all contributions to the PEBA for a particular plan. So if you notice here, the liability, unfortunately, went up 226 million from 194 in the prior year. If you remember last year, it actually went down. So it's kind of flipping back. We talked about how it would flip back probably this year. And remember the increase in the net pension liability, remember it's based on a snapshot 1 year earlier. And so it almost always depends on how your investment returns were. Unfortunately, at June 30th of 2022, they just weren't as good. Back in June 30th of 21, they look better. But it will ebb and flow. The real takeaway for you is the last bullet point there, is that how they get you is that they keep raising those rates. And if you look, it's going to get up to 18.56 and 21.24 of every dollar of salaries you pay, you're going to have to pay that percentage to the state. Remember, your employees are also paying 9% or 9.75%. There's a lot of money going into the state plan trying to shore it up. And the hope is if we can get it funded to around 85%, they could start looking at lowering those rates in future years. But they may lower that one, but then unfortunately when we come to OPEB here, which is retiree health insurance, this plan is very underfunded. If you look to the second to the last bullet point, there's only 10 cents on a dollar in that trust fund to pay claims one day. And so the real takeaway from this one, you notice your liability went down. Well, the way that the actuarial rules work, as interest rates go up, you get to use a higher interest rate. Well, you take a present value of that, it makes the liability lower. So that rate, when it comes back down, which in future years it probably will, that liability will go back up. But you look at the rate there, you're paying 6.25. They're already beginning to raise that rate. And I think it's going to be raised a lot probably in future years. My hope is that maybe the pension gets to a better place and they begin to lower it, then they can raise the OPEB and they kind of offset each other. That's what my hope is. All right, well, let's just briefly look at your capital assets. Remember, that's all your buildings, all your equipment and land and so forth. You have about $554 million. You actually had, this is a rarity for you, an actual decrease in your capital assets because this is one of the few years you didn't have a major school building going on. So you had a little bit less additions than you had depreciation this year. And then on your long-term obligation front there, you have about $527 million outstanding. Remember, you made principal payments of about $59 million. Those are your mortgage payments, like you pay on your house. So when you take out that debt 15 years ago, you're making those mortgage payments. When we look at the last bullet point there, your mortgage payment for fiscal year 24, the year we're in right now, is about $79.7 million. That's principal and interest. All right, just wanted to mention, we don't really see a lot of changes in the auditing standards right now. The last 2 years, we had to implement 2 new standards, one on leases and one on SPIDAs. SPIDAs are subscription-based information technology arrangements. But if you enter into long-term agreements for tangible or intangible property, the GASB wants you to record those on your books now. They don't want it just note disclosure, where someone go find it in the notes. Nobody will find it. They want it to be on that government-wide balance sheet where we show all your debt and your pension liabilities and your capital assets. They want to know what that is. So if you had a $10 million lease liability, I'm going to set up that liability, but also I'm going to have an asset because I have a right to use these assets. So it nets kind of to zero, but they want it grossed up. Next year, there is a new implementation requirement. The GASB used to take the position, they said this for years, that if you had an individual capitalization threshold, and pretty much almost all entities use $5,000, if you followed that, you were good as gold. Well, the question came up, well, what if you buy 1,000 iPads at $1,000? That could be very material, even though individually they're under $5,000. So the GASB came back around and said, you know what? If you buy a lot of something and it's significant, we want you to capitalize it. So starting next year, they don't only have to look at it in light of fiscal year 24, the year, they got to go back into time and look at it and add them for prior years if they are significant. So your staff will be spending some time looking at that to try to comply to the latest pronouncement there. All right, we look and we, like I mentioned earlier, we try to look at your controls and your programs. We didn't have any findings, deficiencies or material weaknesses to make you aware of. Remember, on a single audit, you have to look at certain major federal programs. So we looked at your child nutrition cluster and those ESSER monies, because there's a lot of ESSER money out there. And we don't know if they'll continue requiring us to look at that one every year. But right now, we have to look at it even if we don't want to. That's just a requirement. And so when we have to audit, there's more money. There's more cost to that because they want to make sure people are spending that money for its intended purposes. And that's what they're wanting to check on. The management letter, which is a little side letter that we send out if we had major just things that we wanted to make you aware of as a recommendation. The only thing we always want to remind you is those student pupil activity funds, there's always risk. There's nothing you can really do until there's no more money flowing from the little kids to the teachers to the bookkeeper, and there's no way to totally eliminate that risk. Y'all do a great job of having training, kicking their tires, making sure that they're trying, but once every 3 to 5 years, you're going to probably have something hit the paper. And it's probably not going to be a lot of money, but if to try to fix it, you'd have to hire 2 bookkeepers at every school, and think about that cost. And so, you got to look at cost benefits, and I feel like what you're doing is very reasonable based on what you're doing now. All right, last thing again, unmodified. Good. That's a good opinion. That's a clean opinion. I feel like you have really strong financial condition, and your staff is just like the cream of the crop. It's just a really, really strong staff. And honestly, we do a lot of York County school districts, almost all of them up here are really strong. And that's a testament to the county and to a lot of people up here that they really have strong staff, and you get good information because of that. All right, I'll open the floor for some questions. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is going back to your good financial condition as of June 30th.
Okay.
You gave an example, but I want to get between the lines there. What does that really mean?
It's a snapshot in time of kind of where your kind of net cash stands and how long you can go. You're in the 20s, so if you think about it, 8 point some is about a month. You can go almost 2.5, 3 months without collecting a thing to be able to make it until you hopefully start collecting some more cash. And you want to keep that somewhat of a cushion. What we normally see, most of our school districts are around 20 to 30%, right in that range. Now, we have some that really struggle, and they get down to less than 1 month. That's not a good place to be because there's certain times of the year where there's not a lot of cash coming in, and you can literally run short, and you don't have enough funds. You may have to issue some type of anticipation notes to be able to fund your shortfall. So you're kind of where I see, and Leanne is trying to manage that in that range, 20 to 30. To keep you a good working margin so you don't run into any risk throughout the year.
How many schools do you have in your portfolio?
Over 20. Yeah, over 20.
I got 2 more questions.
Okay.
Would like to hear from our CFO on these questions here. I like your voice, but actually I've got some questions here. So this is slide 1. This is regarding the district, the opinion of the district responsibility. So here's my questionnaire I have written down. So I have, and this is related to there are limitations on internal controls.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Right there.
Okay. So the question I have is, what are you most proud of over the last couple of years regarding internal controls? I know there are things that have changed. And then a follow-up is going to be, when I'm visiting schools and a lot of times when I'm checking in, I normally come across a bookkeeper. Can you provide some context of how important a bookkeeper is?
Sure. Glad to. So I think the whole terminology around internal controls, I think David would agree, that is definitely a key word for an auditor from an audit standpoint. And remember, I'm an auditor background trained as well. So I think a lot of the emphasis that especially Green Finney Colley has had working with us over the years is about continuous review of data and documentation of that review. I can't tell you how many times I have heard this audit team say to us, I know you looked at something, but I want to see you document it. I want it signed and dated to show us that you did look at it monthly. Is that not true, David? So we have really taken that to heart. Also, we've really pushed that out to our schools, and when we work with our school bookkeepers and our school administrators, our principals, we emphasize to them, as we train our bookkeepers, we make sure that they have a system that at least once a month, they're sitting down with their principal. The bookkeeper will print different types of reports showing budget to actual analysis for a particular school, and will review those accounts with their principal and have their principal sign off as well that they're reviewing it. That gives us here at the district office a lot of comfort in that that is getting reviewed timely, because we have a lot of transactions in this district with 20 schools on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And the district office staff, as wonderful as they are, cannot see every transaction that quickly. So it is very important, and I'm very proud of the staff we've built here, and it certainly starts at the school level with the bookkeepers. Our principals have embraced the fact that when they have an opening in a bookkeeper slot, we ask to be a part of that interview team.
Wow.
So someone from the finance department sits on that interview committee, and the principal allows us to kind of give some insight into what we're looking for in a school bookkeeper. So we have it's a huge benefit to this district, just the level, the accounting knowledge that our school bookkeepers have. So it starts there. But as David complimented us on, I mean, we've built a great team here at the district level. And so I'm just going to take a second to brag on them. I mean, our finance department, our leadership team is led by Elizabeth Robinson. I think Elizabeth's here. She's our executive director. Wave, Elizabeth. Kim Mathis is our coordinator of financial services. And Kim, her role, she works very closely with our school bookkeepers, as well as Heather Buchanan, who's our senior accountant. And Margaret Buckaloo is our payroll supervisor. That's our leadership team for our finance department. All of us are either certified through a program in the state. It's a certified school business official program, or like myself, are CPAs. So we are very fortunate with the team we have built here, and I'm very proud to say I think that's reflected in the product we put out and the accountability to our taxpayers as well. So that's kind of a long answer, but thank you for letting me share that.
Yep, I got one more for you. David gave his tidbits, and I just want to hear our CFO on this. This is regarding the fund balance. I just want to ask this question here so you can kind of share with the public. And
Sure.
you have in past.
Yes.
But if you can re-articulate this here. So the question I have is, we often hear school districts are questioned about why the maintaining fund balance at a certain level. Really, why is it important?
So I think for us, we have never had to go out since I have been here and borrow funds to get us through that period of lower or non-tax collections. We maintain enough fund balance from a cash flow standpoint that we can meet the monthly payroll, the monthly accounts payable obligations without having to go out and borrow funds and incur interest for our taxpayers, having to pay interest. Also, I generally am I'm on the bond ratings calls with New York when we go out to the market for bond issues. And that is a very important topic. Not only they ask me, how does our school board, how does our superintendent feel about that, but they can see our consistency with maintaining a very good fund balance to get us through those periods. And as David mentioned, we do get credits that helps get a lower interest rate for us when we go out and borrow funds. So that's very important. And you're going to hear me in my monthly financial speak about property taxes, and I have a very good example of why this is important, having that fund balance available for cash flow as well. I think to me that's the most important reason for having fund balance.
Thank you, and thank you for what
Sure,
you Thank you.
absolutely.
I would add one thing to that point about fund balance, but just overall conservative management of our taxpayers' dollars. You know, fortunately, with your leadership, we have come in slightly favorable to our budget most years. And while that, it sometimes is a big number, but it's like a half a percentage point,
Correct.
right? So it is very precise in the right direction. And so I think that is admirable for you and your staff to keep it so tight, but on the positive side, so that we don't end up sideways and having to go into some of those.
It's
other
a very
balances.
difficult seat to sit in that some would criticize us for having available funds at year end, and then others would criticize us if we went in the red
Even a
and we
dollar.
under budgeted. So I feel like we try to get it as close as we can. And we've been very fortunate in that we have, for the most part, hit that target. But it continues to, that's a challenge for us. There's a lot of external factors that we can't control with those numbers.
Especially now. With
Especially
some
now.
variation in the funding that we're getting from the
State,
states. which
state
is new.
funding and local funding, yes. So,
And if we did have to borrow money to make the bill payments,
yes,
that interest that we would incur comes from operations, which is classroom teachers.
it does, absolutely. That's
So
a great
it's
point.
important that we're always in front of that.
Yes.
So that we can always use our dollars in the manner they should be intended.
And as you heard, we are going to try to keep it within a reasonable percentage, the fund balance. We are not looking to build up our fund balance excessively. We are trying to keep it within just the range that we need to meet the cash flow throughout a fiscal year as well. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Leanne, one thing I always like to turn to, and it seems to always be right around page 88.
Uh-oh.
And there it is on page 88. Seems like,
Oh,
okay.
okay,
you've
I
got
know
it
the
earmarked
page.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's important to understand that there are over $11 million of taxes abated because of fee in lieu or agreements that, I know that we are often criticized for not being a business-friendly area because of our tax rates, but we also have $11 million that is being credited to businesses in order to do business here. That is money that is not coming into our budget and therefore having to go to our taxpayers.
Correct. And
other taxpayers.
yes, and that is on page 88, and our audit report is publicly posted on our website under the finance department. And I do always like to point out the actual accounting requirement on that is just disclosure of that total amount. We do not have to disclose all the businesses, but I feel like that's important for our taxpayers to see that, and that's why we do choose to list that out in detail, so that it is complete transparency on those numbers.
And don't get me wrong, these are some important companies that have over
Absolutely.
the years helped the community in other ways by their being here. So,
But that is just the 11 million, that was just the
This year.
annual amount.
Right, that's
Just
just this
one
year.
year of tax abatement that was given to those companies collectively.
and they have different terms on them, right?
They
Some of
have
them are 10
different
years and
terms on
20
them.
years and, yeah.
Correct.
And about how many teachers is that? $11 million.
11 divided by a position cost on a teacher with benefits is probably around 85,000. So 11 million divided by 85,000. I cannot do that in my head.
129.
Okay, thank you. 129
Right.
teachers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So either 129 additional teachers or $11 million less in
tax.
tax requirements for small businesses and individuals.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
So,
Is what it
Okay.
is.
Thank
Anything
you.
else for Liam?
Maybe not for, did you want to go, Scott? So maybe not for Leanne, but I wanted to hit on this this GASB implementation on the retroactive purchases.
Mm-hmm.
How far are we talking back, and do we foresee, part two, I guess, do we foresee any ramifications, if any, in our district?
Well, the good thing about it, it's a non-cash transaction. So all we're going to do on those government-wide statements is, normally the things that are small that you buy a lot, or iPads and computers, they also have a very short depreciation life. Most of those have a 3 to 5 year life, so you probably are never going to have to go back probably further than 5 years. And because you get to take into account that I should have capitalized it 5 years ago, it was $1 million. If it's 5 years later, it's fully depreciated, there's no value on that year. And so you get to factor that in. Okay.
And you approved a change in that policy earlier this year.
Yeah, we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Which month? And our threshold is going to be 750,000. And we came up with that number working with David and his recommendation.
Thanks.
Do you have something? No? Okay. All right, well, thank you very much, David, for coming up, and I'm glad you didn't get washed away had we tried to bring you up that day before. We're not done talking financials, though. Ms. Lordo has her normal financial update as well.
Yes, thank you. In your packet tonight were the monthly financials for December 31st. Officially halfway through the fiscal year at that point, 6 months into it. Total revenue, $91,030,193. Total expenditures, $97,520,436. So we were still using fund balance in December, which is unusual. We were still using fund balance, $6,490,000. When I received the York County December, their monthly report with tax collections, this note was attached, and it said, please note that December collections will be lower than what you've received in the past. This is due to 2 large mortgage payment files, Wells Fargo and CoreLogic. We normally receive in December, and they have not been received until January. You will see increased collections in the month of January for these payments. So we were about $2.5 to $3 million short this December versus what we collected in December of 2022. So of course, I get on the phone with York County and I'm like, can you give me any idea of what you're seeing in January? And the auditor was very gracious, and he sent me a couple updates. Now, I'll feel really good once I get the January report, which will probably be any day now, or by the first of next week, and I can actually see the postings. But he is telling me that January collections for real property were like $37 million. January collections for real property last year were $23 million. So I'm feeling okay, that we're okay. I want to see it posted where I can really make sure, but I'm feeling okay after I talked with him. And he went back and pulled the reports off their system for me. And that doesn't include fee and lieu. So I just didn't want you to worry, because I'm not really worried at this point that we're still using fund balance in December, even though a normal year we would not be using fund balance in December. Vehicle tax collections, once again, we exceeded $1 million. Those were still strong, $1,155,000. And there was a small amount of fee in lieu of $623,000.
So, Leanne, I won't get the story exactly right, but my family received a letter from York County because apparently there was an error in the county with vehicle tax collections.
Yes.
Where my husband bought a new truck in 2020, and so now they realized that they didn't bill us in 2021.
Yes.
So he did confirm today that we do have to pay that.
Yes.
So we will be contributing to that. So I don't know how broad that problem was, but in his conversation with the county, it sounded like it was pretty broad.
It was pretty broad, and I can bring you my notes on that, because I did have a separate conversation with the county auditor about that. It has been a phase-in. When it was discovered, they started working through those files. So it only affects those who did purchase a new vehicle.
Okay.
So it missed year 1, I believe, when the vehicle was purchased and the paperwork was transferred from the dealership to the state highway department and then to the county. But I believe you paid it in year 2 and since, correct?
we did.
Okay, so it's just 1 year for those new vehicle purchasers in that year. And they have been, the way he described it to me, it's a very manual process. They have to basically enter the information and generate the tax bill manually. So it has taken, I believe they started this project last summer. And it has been a gradual phase in to do the manual work to generate those bills.
Yep.
Yes.
And they went back 2 years. I don't know if it was just a problem in 21.
They
but
went
did
back
go
2 years.
So
I believe they elected to go back
As
2
far
years.
as they could.
Correct. So that could definitely be contributing to our vehicle tax collections, but we'll take it, and yes. So thank you for paying yours.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the phone calls that they are receiving about this. But, you know, I'm appreciative to our York County Auditor for the work he's doing on that as well. So I'll move on to impact fees. Total collected to date, $63,926,990. So we're right at 64 million. January was huge. January of 2024 was the largest month we have had since August of 2020. So the largest month since we were in the first year of COVID. January, we had 78 homes permitted. They are primarily in the Elizabeth neighborhood. I can tell from the addresses. Not 100%, but primarily we had 18 multifamily or apartments. So this was single-family residences permitted. So collections were $1,632,000 in January of 2024. So that really has changed our comparable data for 12 months rolling, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
We're 58% more the current 12 months to the 12 months prior. And we're still 70% less on apartments, but we haven't rolled off of that one apartment large month that was in 2021. So our calendar, just to remind you, last year's calendar average per month was 597,000. So we've almost tripled that in January of 2024. We'll see how that trend continues.
Any indication, because I know you talk to them regularly, any indication where we're tracking currently for February?
So far, we have not collected. We have had several days of no permitting in February. And this is what happens. We'll go a week with no permitting, and then we'll have one large day. And I might have shared with you, I've kind of learned when I get the email every morning, if it is an attachment to the email and it's not just at the bottom of the email, if I have to click on the attachment, it's a big report, and I get real excited because I know that it won't fit on the email. So I've kind of learned that, the county system. So I get disappointed when it's nothing there. Yeah, so in February, we have not collected so
Who's
far.
gonna build some more grocery stores for these people?
Something. Something.
You rattled off the number earlier of what we've collected to date, 64
64
something?
million
And then there's interest of a few million as well.
of over 4 million.
So I think it is safe to say that we have now officially collected enough to know that we are able to fund the school that is currently under construction.
100%. The free
Right. And so,
Cash Elementary.
Right, for Cash Elementary.
Cash Elementary.
And so, so going forward, we've got those collections that you said have run even in the past at
Correct.
$7 million a year on average, right? That should be able to contribute significantly to
the middle school.
The middle school.
Yes, because the middle school was in our comprehensive impact fee study plan. So we would have full authority to now start allocating dollars towards the middle school plan.
And I know when we passed the number for the bond resolution, it was based on the full scope of the middle school.
Correct.
Which fortunately may not be necessary, and it shouldn't be all necessary given that we've got some dollars that we know
Correct.
are going to go towards it.
Yes.
So that's exciting.
Especially where we are now, knowing that we will have a good bit of time to collect before we will complete
having
the
to pay things.
construction
Yep.
of the middle school.
But
Yes,
more than likely, land prices will continue to climb, so
absolutely.
any
So,
extra or surplus that might come from that construction piece will probably pay for land.
true. And just to touch on, a reminder about the state budget, we're in waiting mode. The week of February 20th is when the House Ways and Means will meet. They will roll out their budget plan and approve their budget plan to go to the full House. It has to be printed and sit on the House members' seats for a week. So that pushes out the full House to deliberate on their budget plan will not happen until March 11th. So those are 2 key weeks, the week of February 20th and the week of March 11th, that we will be watching very closely to see what happens in Columbia. Now, the last piece I want to share is I like to share with you as soon as I find out about the Consumer Price Index percentage on the tax millage. We've not received the letter, and I noted that we did receive the letter this week last year, so I started harassing Frank Rainwater's office today, Revenue and Fiscal Affairs, my contact there, and she was very nice, and she actually pulled our letter. It's dated today, February 6th, so Dr. Epps, you should get it sometime this week in the mail. But as I shared, I did not think we would be anywhere close to the 8% last year. So the Consumer Price Index percent for this year is 4.12. 4.12%. So you multiply that by our current millage of 265.5 mils, that is 10.93. So let's round up, that's 11 mils. That'll be the max on the Consumer Price Index portion. So I just wanted to share that for thought. Keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah. Any questions?
One more.
Okay.
It was the 45th day numbers that when they reallocated for the state, we lost money because we gained students, but
Correct.
somehow
So on the
lost money.
45th day reallocation, so when we proposed the budget last spring and you passed the budget, it was based on Senate Finance. During the summer, there was a reallocation, and we went down just a little bit. But then on the 45th day, we went down 300,000 to from the projections this summer. But that is still, I mean, the state allocation is 89 million. I'm rounding that. So to me, 300,000, I'm really thankful it's not a couple million. I mean, that's to me just about a break even. But we did not gain. So we did not get any benefit for new student growth this year.
And then next one is not done until the 135th day.
Correct.
So we got some time before
We,
we will know.
we
anything.
probably would not know till May timeframe, if then on the reallocation on the 135th day. Yes. So we won't have the benefit as we have had prior to the new education funding formula of knowing that we're going to have additional revenue because of the growth of the students this year going into the budget plan for next year. We won't have that.
Okay.
No.
All right. Anything else for Ms.
Okay.
Ordo?
Thank you.
All right. We have some more fun things then. We're back to fun again. Some Hall of Fame nominees for Mr. Hill. I'm sorry, Leanne. It's not that you're not fun. I mean, you're a ball of laughs all the time.
No, different kind of fun.
It's
Different
right.
kind of fun.
First,
She
let
gets
me
excited
thank
by
Dr.
crunching
Epps for
numbers.
calling attention to my advanced age. Okay.
I was talking about myself.
That's always a good lead. I'm Mike Hill, and I represent the Fort Mill School District Hall of Fame Committee. The people on that committee are Dr. Chuck Epps, Scott Patterson, Rudy Sanders, Vereen Brown, Mayor Gwen Savage, Patrick White, and myself. And I need to especially thank Jennifer Overman because she keeps us informed and she keeps us on task, and I don't know what we'd do without her. But I'd like to give you our slate of nominees for 2023. And they are William Black Banks. Bill Banks taught at Fort Mill High School for 35 years. During that time, he taught science and driver's education and coached several sports, including the 1961 and 1962 state championship baseball teams. The second one is James Richard Shannon. Jim Shannon served Fort Mill Schools for more than 25 years. He worked as teacher and coach before becoming principal of Fort Mill Primary School, later named Carruthers. Our third nominee is CM Pete Reynolds. Pete Reynolds coached football, baseball, and basketball at Fort Mill High School before he became principal at Central School, later A.O. Jones. Gloria Gainey. Gloria Gainey served as a beloved kindergarten assistant for 46 years with Fort Mill Primary before moving to Fort Mill Elementary. And our last nominee is Solomon Spratt. Solomon Spratt helped build a school for the former enslaved people of Fort Mill, helping lay the groundwork for the early schools that later formed the Fort Mill School District. We present these to you, and we think we've got a good slate this year. So,
Sounds
thank
like
you.
it.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation from the Hall of Fame Committee for the 5 nominations for this year's Hall of Fame.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the recommendation for the 5 names presented from the Hall of Fame nominating committee to enter into our Hall of Fame. Is there any discussion?
That's fabulous.
All very familiar names. Some of those, like you say, if you drive around town, right?
Right, for
very
real.
familiar names. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will have all the plans for the ceremony and all those things in,
You got the
in due
date,
time.
March 12th. I was going to go over that.
Okay.
in the date.
All right. All right, we also have another action item that's also lots of fun, I'm sure.
Totally.
A textbook approval. A beautiful textbook.
I am going to live up to the reputation of short and sweet. We have done this dance multiple times before. We have a one textbook adoption tonight. So when I say short and sweet, I mean it. Our AP psychology teachers in the most recent adoption looked at the texts that were available to them and did not feel that any of those were suitable for the content that AP requires. Recently, the state made available this text, Myers Psychology, and they said this is the text we wanted when last we had an adoption. This has just become available to them. They would like to use this, and they want to use it starting now. As soon as they receive approval from the board, they will purchase these and hopefully start using them this semester in their AP Psychology text. Again, there were texts available, but the teachers at the time said none of them suit our needs. This is what suits our needs. So if you're wondering why now, it's just because this book recently became available to them. With that being the case, I'll open it up to any questions.
How long does it take to get the books in? And is there an electronic copy that they can start using quicker?
Some books do come with electronic copy. I don't know that this comes with an electronic copy, but I would say it's a matter of weeks.
Okay.
And this is on the State Board of Education's approved book list.
Thank you very much. So yes, because I took it for granted that this is our greatest hits album of my presentations to you, but yes, every time there is a textbook that's presented to the board, it is coming from the state's approved textbook list. The state's textbook list is already vetted by the public, meaning parents and community members had the opportunity to weigh in on texts when the state made them available. So at this point in time, that's already been vetted. I'm bringing a vetted product to you.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for Myers Psychology for the AP course that has been recently released as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second for the new AP Psych book presented. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you very much.
And now, lots of fun from our superintendent.
I get the fun part of the meeting. Okay, let's look at our calendar of events. And if I miss something, you can fill in. Of course, the school board meeting tonight. School board visits to schools next Monday, beginning at Fort Mill Elementary at 11, then going to Fort Mill Middle, Doe Beach Bridge, and ending at Forest Creek. this weekend, the 15th, this weekend or next weekend? Next weekend, the 15th through the 18th, the School Boards Association Annual Conference. They're really their primary conference for the year. The 16th is a teacher workday, no school for students. The 19th, President's Day, no school for students and staff. Then I've got the 21st listed as a school board meeting. The Wednesday, remember we moved it. It was moved at the beginning of the year from Tuesday to Wednesday, but after the holiday. It's still tentative, like all the second meetings of the month are. So that's why it's starred. And then we have the Fort Mill School District Teacher Forum Legislative Day at the Capitol on the 27th. I think you all received something about that if you're interested in going. I think it's like from 9 to 1-ish. Getting on into March, the 2-hour early release day on the 1st. Then the kindergarten registration portal opens, important for parents, on the 1st for the 24-25 school year. The school board meeting scheduled for the 5th. School board visits on the 11th, 11 to 1, starting with Catawba Ridge. Is that the order we agreed on? Okay. Yep. River Trail, Banks Trail, and Riverview. On the 12th, we've set the date, the Fort Mill School District Hall of Fame reception. That's the Tuesday in between the bond vote and the board meeting. So it'll be at 5 o'clock here at the Training and Support Center. The 14th, Teacher and Support Staff Liaison meetings, which don't involve the board. Then on the 19th, a very important day in the history of the district, our next bond referendum vote at the precincts here in the county, in Fort Mill School District part of the county. The school board meeting that night, it'll either be, it's tentative, we'll either postpone it to the next, till April, or we'll hold it earlier. We hadn't really decided yet what we're gonna do since the voting, the polls are open from 7 to 7. We'd like to finish by 7 if we meet. So that would mean meeting at 4 or 5 that day, or if we don't have any items, we'll push it on down. So just kind of tentatively put that on your calendar. Teacher workday on the 22nd. And then this is another one that I've received an email about, the 4 superintendents have received about the York County Chamber of Commerce State of Education, State of the Community and Education. All 4 school districts that held at the Glennon Center. That's the first time I think we've done we may have done that one other time where all 4 were sitting at the same table, and I'm not sure, I've got confirmed there, but I know all the 4 of us said we could come, but put that down in pencil. It'll be a breakfast that morning as it normally is, and then go till about 9, I believe. Then, of course, the spring break, April 1 through 5. And what did I miss along the way?
February 22nd through the 25th is the National School Board Conference, which is COSBA, the Consortium of State School Boards Associations. Ms. Pratt and I will be attending that. Other than that, that's the only thing that I'm aware of.
All right.
Do we have a board legislative day in Columbia yet?
It's in April, isn't it?
I haven't seen a date to mark yet.
It's in
Is it
April.
already known?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Hang on,
All right.
I'll tell you.
Other dates?
And it is a Wednesday because I believe it is always a Wednesday.
Yeah, seems like it is.
Yeah, I don't have it noted yet, so, okay.
All right, looking at enrollment update.
10th. It is
Is
April
it the
10th.
10th? Enrollment update, this is that time of year when it looks a little squirrely. We've got, it's when we back down the 76 graduates at mid-year, and this is actually real-time people in seats. So you started with 18,241, you back out to 76, which I always count the 76 because we budgeted for them and they were here until they weren't here. So we don't eliminate the others. Then the new enrollees for January through February 6th was 53. So if we do that every month, we're going to quickly surpass all these numbers. The difference was minus 23. So 18,398 in seats. If you add the 76, that comes out to be close to what I told Anthony we were getting towards. So
We're there.
I think we're going to get there easily based on the impact fee report. They're still moving here.
True.
Questions about that? And finally, the attendance update. So the three schools that led the way in the high schools was Fort Mill High with 96.36. The middle school, Banks Trail Middle, 95.4. And the district leader at the elementary level and the district level, Springfield Elementary, 96.7, if I did my math right. Yes, I did. So that's the teacher attendance.
Okay. Always a very strong showing.
It always appears that way.
Anything else from an overall superintendent report that you need
Can't think of anything.
or want to share with the group?
Just, everybody, it's an exciting time with the bond coming up, and we'll see how the public feels about the future of the district.
I'm excited. Punxsutawney, I'm hoping he was right. I
Right,
have
seriously.
daffodils and Lenten roses blooming in my yard, so everybody's getting excited about spring. All right, well, we are in need of an executive session to discuss personnel recommendations and conclude the discussion on the superintendent goals and evaluations. So with that,
Motion to go into executive
we are in
session.
executive session. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you soon.